still thinking about it, even with Jackie's hovering. But the ignite as it goes down, Isma tries to get his way.
Oh, the flash, nice. Yeah, nice. Niski. It's like crazy man.
Niski spots him. The Antonio came in a bit early. He equalizes. Juhan trying to recover as well, but Rell still isn't dead.
Why you with me? You carry.
Yeah, I carry. Number dead.
And we've got to start bringing the discussion to light. The new bot lane of SK. How far can it take them?
And welcome back in our third game of the day as we have BDS facing off against G2 Esports in the rematch of the spring finals. Let's see what BDS have planned today. Arresting someone. What did Adam do?
He's the criminal.
Well, the weak side police are often coming for you, so maybe that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, definitely with this champion pool, you know, I think he just, they picked him up and they had to re-educate him over there.
Getting arrested for having Queen champions. Love it. We'll see what BDS does today. Let's focus on G2 first here, as I feel like we saw the peak version of what G2 could do at MSI, and let's say they have a hard time readjusting to the beauty of Europe and the LEC.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a little bit a version of G2 that people usually expect after, you know, an international event, because your schedule is so packed. Not being a lot of downtime between MSI and the start of the season, everyone expects them to be sloppy. It's just that usually they've been breaking this trend and coming back, you know, super strong. But the G2 that we saw yesterday was kind of this a little bit sloppier version, you know. I still think their setups are really good. They're looking to punish you in really good way, in their typical G2 ways, where they skip steps, walk in, you know, dare you to fight them. But the thing is that SK fought them, and G2 was just very slow at reacting to the way SK was pulling the trigger.
Absolutely. Let's preface this by saying that G2 was the team that started practice the latest and started going back to solo queue the latest. But still, if we then forget about that and just isolated look at their plays, there is a lot of wins from individuals, okay? I think Mikyx as well was having some limit tests as well down towards the bottom side. Yike on the rec side was having a hard time in terms of when am I going in? Is my team going to follow up with me? So I think we're still lacking, or rather missing, this coordinated team play that G2 is so famous for. Right now, we only have the aggression, but they're not on the same page.
And I think it's more so of a case of, you know, since they're always looking to kind of limit break, a lot of times, you know, maybe one of them ends, you know, and then everyone else is backing them up. But yesterday it just seemed like it's one of those games where they're not really backing each other up, and they're just kind of all having this unlucky game where they're trying to push the limits way too much, and there's just no safety net.
I mean, we told G2 that there's no LEC on Mondays anymore, so they swapped Content Monday for Content Sunday. Maybe we'll see what they have planned today. BDS though, I feel like we saw improvements day after day. Day one was really sloppy though. On individual performance, gameplay, drafts, I felt like they were rusty. And that's what Adam said in the interview as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's so often when we get back to a split that BDS has this tendency where they just drop a random game where they find themselves in a lead. And I think they're quite lucky this time around that they've been able to manage to have a 2-0 week, specifically the game against Vitality. But I think they had a great glow up in yesterday's games where they fix up the draft a bit, where now they suddenly bring out the Tristana in the mid lane and an AP jungler. So you get this strong presence from Nuke and Sheo as well, where they doesn't necessarily have to just rely on having solo lanes that get ahead like Adam in the past or something like that, specifically when he's picking so much Kazante now.
Yeah, especially now that he's, you know, kind of being this rock stable in the top lane. A huge glow up, as you said, from day one. Day one, they went for this kind of execution-based comp where I didn't really like the Viego Taliyah combo. It felt like there is no, you know, catalyst, no one to kind of gel everything together. While in day two, they completely switched it up by, you know, drafting trial lanes everywhere. Sheo on Karthus, you know, a jungler that we haven't seen in the LEC yet, and he's the first one to bring it out. And it looked like they were a lot more comfortable with this because everyone is more happy with the style of, you know, pushing your leads. Everyone has agency in the game and everyone can just bounce off of each other.
Yeah, and when you look at BDS and the way they've been used to winning games, often the fact that it goes through team fights, that they can plan methodically, I do feel like it's the kind of composition that suits them the best maybe. They are the only team who brought back the lane swap though, but I do feel like in a composition like this, it does make sense. Nuke hopes that they can bring it back. I don't expect that it's a trend that's going to keep on going though.
No, I don't think so either. They only did a 40% a short period of time as well. As soon as we were 5 minutes in, they swapped back. So it's really just to get out of that early start of the lane. What I really find interesting with today's matchup, though, is that we have a G2 that's looking like they're struggling a bit. And finally, you have a BDS that's ramping up. And that's really crucial for BDS, who always struggles against one specific team in this league, which is G2. So if they can keep this going and start picking up an early win against G2 that's struggling, that is huge for the road towards playoff.
An early lead translating into well-maneuvered team fights, I want to say, Odo, because that's what made them strong in the early stages of the year, but also when in the game that they played yesterday as well.
Yeah, definitely. It just felt like yesterday they had more tools to play with. You know, coming from early game, everyone's getting ahead. It's a lot easier to find these plays when you're in a winning position compared to day one, where it felt like they were just all struggling and they just didn't really have the tools to you know, find good plays. So they had to scrap out a win out of thin air.
Easy to execute compositions, I feel, GB, but do you want to be creative today against G2 or stick to the basics that they had?
I mean, for G2, I'm never really one to give them advice because they just kind of do what they please, and there's things where I feel like they shouldn't make it work, but they do anyway. I think it's more interesting on the BDS coin because one of the main criticisms we have of BDS is that sometimes they're too stock standard. They become really good at playing one specific style, but they never become greater at excelling at something else. So you want to see BDS continue to evolve, and I like what we're seeing now with Adam a bit more on the weak side and playing more towards ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, sorry.
No,
yeah.
it's fine. Go ahead. Wrap up
No,
your
yeah,
point.
definitely. But on the creativity point is, I don't see BDS as being a team that is extremely creative. I feel like their creativity always ends up in Adam having a funky pick. And I'm like, you need a little bit more from everyone else to spice it up against G2.
Should be an exciting matchup. Anyway, let's toss back to our casters, Broxah and Medic. Take it away, guys.
Here's the toss, Broxah. Hey, good catch. Look at that.
Teamwork.
Perfect toss. I'm here with Broxah. My name's Medic. He's obviously Broxah. That's who I'm here with. It's good to have you on the caster desk.
Yeah, great to be here again. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
You excited?
Nervous to be here, partly because you're going to troll me in some way. I know
you
you
know
but
it. You know,
it's
at
going to
some
be
point
fun.
we're going to do it. If the teams are allowed to troll, I feel like I'm allowed to troll a little bit as well.
That makes sense. I'll remember that.
We are here for G2 versus BDS. It has been 717 days since BDS beat G2 in a series. They have taken games in best of fives and best of threes, but the last time they managed to actually take a whole series win was 717 days ago. The question is, can they do it today? Because BDS, I think, so far, have looked like the better of the two teams.
Yeah, I think definitely so far, and historically speaking, it's crazy to realize that G2 has been ahead for so long, because looking back at the last 1-2 years, BDS has always been in the top 3. They've always been so close to making it all the way, but G2 always, of course, having the advantage. Now, like you said, today might be the day for BDS, I will tell.
And it will. BDS on the blue side, G2 on the red. Draven and LeBlanc taken away by Team BDS. Skarner removed by G2. Sad that we have yet to see that Stinger on the Rift here in the LEC Rumble alongside it.
Yeah, and some of the other high prior picks that could potentially get banned here. I was about to say TF is now gone. Vi is another option. We could be looking at something like a Senna, but at this point, like champions like Skarner, Rumble, TF, and LeBlanc are almost perma-banned.
Yeah, you just have to get rid of them. They're just too strong in the current meta. We've seen some AD mids from Team BDS. We saw that Tristana Karthus combination. The question is, will they go back to it? So far, Caps has been on the traditional mages, the Hwei and the Azir in the mid lane. Ivan, the final ban from G2. Where do BDS put their prior? We've seen a lot of Varus first picks. Taliyah, obviously a bit flexible as well, can be played mid, can go into the jungle. I've even seen a few support Taliyahs in solo queue, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, there's different directions G2 can go here. So far, they've been prioritizing the Varus, but Sama could consider looking into the Senna with an Nautilus, or even just picking support on 4-5 for Mikyx. Cassandra is an option, most often is being prioritized in the 4-5, however. But again, the Varus has been a great choice for Hans, and now they can pretty much decide where they want to go from here. The draft is pretty open, really, for G2.
Yeah, you have a lot of options, don't you? I really think G2 will likely play R5 top to try and answer Adam. I think BrokenBlade has been G2's best player, both at MSI, although I think some people would say Caps played really well at MSI as well. But also in Summer so far, his Camille and his Cassante have been very good. G2 likely looking towards a jungler here. Then you can pick either support or mid on 3. There's the Vi, you already talked about it. Unlikely we'll see BDS go for the Karthus, already having the Taliyah in their toolkit. Most likely they will pick a jungler of their own here. likely AD or maybe something tanky like even a Sejuani can work.
Yeah, I think something like a Rek'Sai or Yike or maybe a Sinza is something you could consider. Or you can just go 4-5 and make sure you get your prior bot lane. Rell alongside Nautilus have been the two most prioritized support so far in the league. And like we saw in yesterday's KC game, Jinx, huge value once you reach the 40-minute mark. Now scaling is secured.
I mean, also in BDS's game, Ice got a pentakill.
Actually true. They even played it themselves.
They managed just to close out the game very quickly with that Ice Penta. Rell, such a strong engage tool, especially with the Warmogs build, giving you that extra speed as soon as you complete it, assuming you have your runes correctly. I have seen some Thimble Winter making its rounds as well as second item on support. We'll see if BDS decide that's the way to go. There's Hwei for G2, leaving support for 4, and instead making sure that Caps has a good matchup in the mid lane.
Yeah, so here we're most likely going to see G2 continuing to target the top lane, making sure that BrokenBlade can get a favorable top lane counter on 5, like you already mentioned. BDS, on the other hand, may want to consider banning something like the Nautilus or maybe another prior support away from Mikyx.
I think getting the Camille off the cards makes a lot of sense.
Camille is pretty strong for sure.
So I think maybe a Nautilus on the second ban for BDS would make sense. With the Hwei already locked in, I wonder if BDS will flex that Taliyah to the jungle. You can look, I mean, I'm wondering what's good into Hwei in mid. You could go for something like the Tristana, but then you always just
Are you sure there's a Hwei mid?
You think it's Hwei support?
Hwei support Varus mid. We saw a Varus mid yesterday. I mean, I'm just saying.
It could be
it's
Hwei
G2,
Varus bot.
anything could happen.
It's true. It could be Hwei Varus bot. Hwei, actually, when you go to the support tab, when you're playing solo queue, Hwei's still there because of how often he has played support at the moment.
There it is.
I think it's mostly mid laners auto-filled. I can just play Hwei, it's fine. There's the Zac ban alongside Renata, and lots of top lane focus in this second phase of bans. G2 now, will it be Hwei support, or will we see that Hwei going into the mid lane? Expect Caps to be picking it up, but we'll probably know after this pick. In fact, I can say we'll definitively know after this pick, because I'm so sure that top lane is being left for R5.
Shall we see?
I'm sad. I'm sad, Broxah. No Hwei support for you. Instead,
Unlucky.
the Renata, avoiding some of the dive potential from BDS. Obviously, if the Rell goes in and then you put the hostile takeover down, it makes it much harder for BDS to chase you down. And when you have an auto-attack based AD carry, the hostile takeover just does so much work because of the Berserk.
Yeah, I think right now G2 has a lot of lockdown, a lot of single target damage, so just getting some more zone control in team fights from Hwei, from Renata, already makes the team fighting a lot greater. And BDS here securing a strong prior mid in Tristana, getting the Gragas, who is a safe blind top laner. And now it's really up to BrokenBlade to showcase to us what counters he has lined up, what he's been cooking, because truthfully, there's a ton of top lane bans right now.
You've been playing a lot of Field to Challenger though, and I know top lane, one of your favorite roles. What would you be picking into this composition?
Well, I like Vayne top. Yeah, I said it. But I don't think it's particularly playable into Gragas. I think here, something like the Kennen probably is a little smaller, makes more sense, works perfectly with Vi, with Varus as well. You have all these, you know, champions that can simply engage together with their ults. It makes the team fighting very easy, front to back wise as well, and just a very simple, straightforward team fighting execution come from G2.
Yeah, you just have so much AoE, right, in a team comp. And the lockdown for the Hwei is very important. It's much easier to hit your Severing Bolt when someone is CC'd than it is when they're trying to run away from you. Caps has been on point with it so far in LEC Summer. We'll see if he can continue that trend today. No real surprises from BDS. The Taliyah flex was moved into the jungle. The priority in the mid lane, as you say, for the Tristana. So we'll see how much Sheo can do with lanes that can get an early push. You know, Jinx, Rell should be able to push into the Varus, although it depends if the Varus is able to get some poke down early. Tristana should be able to get early push into the Hwei. Top lane, a little bit harder for Adam, obviously, playing into a ranged matchup. I wonder if we'll see BDS actually, or even G2 running up towards that top lane at level 1 to get the extra ward in the bush to make that melee into range matchup even harder for Adam.
Yeah, and we even saw BDS lane swapping with Jinx the other day.
True.
Could potentially happen again. I think for both teams, so far they've shown that early game is where they're lacking a little bit, but usually mid to late game, when team fights come around, that's where they're really strong. So I'm looking forward to getting to that point.
Yeah, so am I. Obviously, when you have things like a Jinx in the game, you always know the team fights are going to be explosive. For G2, it's a bit of an MSI hangover. I was talking backstage with some of their staff. You know, things start a little bit later when you've been playing on the international stage. For BDS, the same struggles that have caused them to fall in the past continue to foible some of their plans. We'll see if they can rectify things today. Big game for BDS. Would put them at 3-0. Would give them their first series win versus G2 in over 2 years. For G2, it's just another Monday, you know. Yesterday was the content game, as they like to say on their Twitter account. Do you know? I looked up some numbers. We have a pause going into the game. We'll find out exactly what's going on. G2, in regular season, in the last 2 years, after they lose, what do you think their win rate is?
Ooh, after a loss, so when they start getting angry and focused. I don't know, 70%?
More than that, they're 9-1 after a loss in the LEC. They've only gone 1-2 twice in the last 2 years. This would be a third time. We'll see what G2 can do today. We had a slight issue with the player settings that hadn't saved. They've been rectified, and I see the players running their way across Summoner's Rift, and you will do about now as well. As Sheo and BrokenBlade meet in the mid lane, a ward was put down, cleared out. Sheo took the oracles first. Nuke gets the ward, which means he will hit level 2 1 minion earlier in the mid lane.
There's different options for both teams here early on, depending on what lane they want to prioritize. I wouldn't be surprised seeing both junglers path towards the bot side, securing a favorable bot situation for themselves with the Jinx, Rell, and Varus and Renata. Most likely, no matter what happens top, BrokenBlade is going to have prior and pushing at them anyway, so bot is where you want to set your sights early on.
Do you think First Strike is a good rune, Broxah?
I think it's a very powerful rune.
There's 5 people out of the 10 in this game who've opted for First Strike. Summer, Caps, and BrokenBlade all on G2.
The pros agree with me. I guess I still got it.
Exactly. There's so much First Strike happening. And BDS stepping in here with Ice and Labrov, the lane swap that you mentioned, happening a couple of days ago with this Jinx. Now, it's not a full lane swap. Obviously, top lane tower is tankier. You get more gold for first turret blood now, so you don't want to spend too long away from the bottom lane. But getting Rell to level 2, getting Jinx a couple of levels under her belt as well, just mitigates some of that early game. Also, First Strike isn't as good if there's no one for you to strike. You know, if you can't get gold of anyone, if there's no one in your lane, then it's a lot trickier. BrokenBlade backed off, realizes that a lane swap has commenced, and we'll see how the two teams decide to play out the next couple of moments. Ice and Labrov just doing their due diligence, making sure that Kennen isn't hiding in any bushes, leeching XP off this wave.
This is one of the issues picking Jinx right now into something like the Varus. You simply will have a hard time laning in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, so avoiding that, getting a decent early recall and then coming back to bot usually push you in a favorable position. Now, initially, when we saw lane swaps coming back, you would often see top laners just walking under their turret, being completely confused and not understanding what was going on. Now, unfortunately, people are going to do what BrokenBlade is doing right now, just hiding in the bush, waiting for his opportunity and making sure he doesn't give up that free kill.
Yeah, interesting difference between how the two teams have played out the lane swap. Summer and Mikyx going for the 2-wave crash. The next wave now joining means they've already picked up a plate from this. Ice and Labrov have gone for a 3-wave sack. Denies a little bit more XP in case anyone got close enough to the tower, but means they are a little bit later to actually start hitting on this top lane tower.
And that's the problem with the changes, right? They were supposed to remove lane swaps entirely. Those solo lane turrets are so tanky, like 75% more resistances, meaning that almost no matter what BDS does, they're gonna get 1 plate at most, while G2 can just hammer away on the turret, already 2 plates secured for themselves. And sure, G2 a small advantage in the bot lane, but still avoiding that laning phase for a while. Still, wait. Medic. Wow. I just complimented him for staying in the bush.
Yeah, well, that was a bit of a mistake there from BrokenBlade. Just dies underneath the tower. We'll TP back in.
What?
Yeah, mistakes happen.
You know, for a moment I thought my eyes were like deceiving me. I saw this hamster running directly towards
He's dead again.
Medic.
Okay, well, positives. He held onto his flash.
It's a tactical death.
Yeah.
He's giving BDS false confidence right now.
Oh, Nuke pulled back here by the Grasping Maw. Cap's going to take a bit of damage as well. Mikyx looking for the trade. Caps with a bit of a shield. Nuke has the flash. Can he jump away? Yike on his way can follow with the Vault Breaker flash here. Nuke holds it. Flash is just in time. Caps though with another Grasping Maw is enough. As Caps takes the kill in mid. 2 for 1 at the exchange.
I love how this looked like a completely controlled, normal lane swap situation for a while, and then within 1 minute, everything just turned to complete chaos. I absolutely love it. Oh, Sheo looking for the play on Caps.
But Caps is going to survive for a moment. Nuke comes in, explosive shot, another auto. Is that enough? It's 120 health you have to get through. It's not enough. Caps survives. Sheo goes down, so now it's 2 for 2 at 4:30. And even though BrokenBlade made a bit of an oopsie in the top lane, it's been evened out by 2 kills for Caps in mid.
I mean, his tactical depths actually worked perfectly. BDS got so much confidence that they ended up overextending and died mid, and now maybe even Adam is to follow.
He can body slam away. The wave, not in the best of spots for him. It's just going to back in the bush here. I wonder if BrokenBlade's actually going to be able to freeze that outside of tower range. We'll have to have another look back up at top lane in a moment's time. It's just on the edge of turret range. Adam realizes, well, can't really leave this lane frozen. Comes to thaw it out. It is summer after all, as Labrov and Ice push in the bottom side. It looks like Sheo might be going for an early Drake here with that prio in bot. Broxah. Interesting to see this prio, the priority on getting the Drake, but I guess with Grub still 40 seconds away, you can have your cake and eat it too here if you're BDS.
Yeah, this is really a byproduct of Yike spending time around top lane, looking for the gank, giving himself a very late recall, and Sheo just being there right away to punish. Also worth noting that while there's 2 kills on either side, on BDS they got both on the support. On G2, well, you have it on your main man in the mid lane, and
I agree, it's much better on the support.
yeah, sure.
I've seen you be kill thirsty in your challenger runs on that Lulu. Adam here, gonna get traded in on BrokenBlade. BrokenBlade obviously an energy champion, makes it a little bit easier for him to continuously trade in the top lane because you don't have to worry about that extra resource in the form of mana. Summer and Mikyx coming back to the lane, gonna push this out. Overall, they're relatively good beneficiaries of the early lane swap. You can see 282 gold their lead, a couple of plates falling for them as well, as Summer might even try and get in range for another plate here. Gets himself a little bit more gold as it does go down. And across the board, G2's carries are ahead. However, as you say, Labrov a little bit ahead for BDS.
Now at this point we need to keep an eye on the support, something that Mikyx has done really well so far, despite some difficult G2 games, is roaming around the map and setting Yike up for success. And at this point, with Void Growth being up and Dragon taking away, both bot lanes will naturally want to push out the lane, have the support shift up, create a number advantage, and then secure Void Growth for themselves, which is exactly what BDS is doing right now.
It looks like G2 actually just giving up the ghost on these. They have Summer and Mikyx down towards that bottom side. Mikyx shadowing Summer to make sure he was safe, farming up the minions under the turret. Ice resets, he's going to open through the top lane. Looks like it might just be a plate towards BrokenBlade, try and put him behind a little bit more. You do often see this when you have your support already roaming for the grubs. The AD carry will just get a push, reset, go towards topside. The bolstering of the towers falls off at 5 minutes anyway, so that 75% damage reduction no longer has any effect. And Jinx, one of the best turret takers in the game, especially if you can get that passive ramping up.
Luckily for G2, they were aware of it, managed to match the recalls, and you see Summer and Mikyx sprinting to topside as soon as possible, trying to prevent any tower damage from happening. Now, it's really up to BDS to decide if they want to continue playing this game of ping pong, so to speak. Just keep, you know, basing, pushing out, getting G2 to follow, or, you know, decide if they eventually want to put their foot in the pedal and move the game forward.
So the question is, from a compositional point of view, when I look at this, I would say BDS really don't care if there's no fighting for the next 15 minutes. If they can just ping pong, bounce back, lose a turret here or there, not really have to contest objectives, you've already got a Drake, you can give up a couple, get Jinx to 3 items, then you can win. Would you agree with that sentiment? Would you agree with my take?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go!
Very smart, man.
Super Mega Death Rocket stops Mikyx back.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. One way to secure the tempo for yourself. And now this could be an opening for BDS to play rather aggressive on bot side, knowing that Mikyx is going to be late. Obviously, Yike is also recalling very late to something they're not really aware of. But right now the focus isn't so much to get plays, because like you mentioned, Jinx is going to scale anyways. He's going to be very strong in a while from now. But Dragon is up in 2 minutes. And if you're BDS, you want to make sure you can continue setting up vision around that area, make G2 face check you when Dragon is up, and hopefully, eventually get yourself to a soul point.
Talked about Mikyx roaming earlier on. Labrov, through spring, through winter, I think sometimes undersold in terms of the impact he has for this team. You have to remember bringing Ice in, an AD carry who, although can speak some English, there are some communication difficulties still within the team. Having Labrov be such a voice and be such an impetus for the team has really helped them out. So we'll see how much he can move around the map here. Has already got his World Atlas upgraded, while Mikyx still lacks those extra wards. But the Scuttle Crab giving you that little bit of extra vision for G2 means they do have some awareness around the Drake spawn in a minute's time.
How much of a confidence boost do you feel when you upgrade your support item before the enemy?
Oh, it's great.
Sub gap?
Yeah, it's huge sub gap. Although here it's lane swap gap, you know, like they were just, Mikyx had to move and try and answer a little bit more.
No, that's just excuses, really.
I mean, the big thing, Super Mega Death Rocket hits onto Han Summer. Now, I will say, this is one of those moments where it feels cool that it hits onto the AD carry, because you're like, oh, you're stopping the AD carry's tempo, he doesn't have much CS. If you stop Mikyx's tempo, he'd already placed his one ward from upgrading the World Atlas, which means they don't have those 3 wards that he's now got to come back off. Obviously, BDS aren't playing around the Drake at all, so it doesn't matter. But that's a real feels good moment where you're like, I have this plethora of wards. I have this full bag of wards I can place on the map, whereas my enemy support has already run out.
Well, they decided to prioritize top and avoid grubs instead. You can see Labrov running immediately out of base into G2's topside jungle, putting all of his vision down. And now he just needs to determine whether he's going to linger around the area, protect his vision, or immediately recall again so he has fresh wards for the objective.
Yeah, tempo's like, place all your wards, make G2 have to get rid of them, then come back out onto the map. You have these deeper wards, so G2 has to invest their vision control in clearing out the wards in their jungle, which they haven't managed to do. You can see 2 wards behind the red buff, 1 control ward sitting in that bush in front of the buff as well. G2 here, BDS will be very aware of what G2 are doing. The question is, do G2 still want to take the fight? Because I wouldn't be surprised if they do. They have Bailout, they have Han Summer 6, they have Caps, who's already finished the Luden's Companion. They're in a good spot to fight. They just don't have the vision control that BDS has garnered.
Yeah, but they're slowly starting to create control for themselves through topside, pushing in top together, grouping as free, and now you're going to see the trio from G2 slowly pulling the grubs up towards their side. BrokenBlade has TP, Caps will have to walk all the way around, which is the downside to this play, but they're slowly getting some form of control back.
The other downside
they do need to be aware of TP flanks from Gragas.
TP flanks, 100% agree with you, but also BDS only needed 1. They already have the might spawning. If they can get 6, obviously that's a bonus, but just getting 1 was enough to get them over that 4 mark. Now, it looks like they will be able to claim 5 of them. G2 stole 1 away, which is probably what their intention was after they'd lost that first.
The intention behind this from G2 made sense for the most part, but the problem is the wave was pushed in so early. It was easy for BDS to clear it, move into the river, and they were never able to create a gap between themselves and Caps. Part of that definitely was the deep vision in their jungle that led to them being afraid of going for the play, but let's see.
Weaver's wall down, Han Summer has to flash away from the seismic shove. Bailout not used yet. There it comes. Exhaust onto Han Summer. Cleanse away. Mikyx flashes away from it as well. Sheo locked up with the cease and desist. Labrov trying to turn it back onto Han Summer. Sheo the first to fall. Han Summer low as well. He has the bailout. Yike falling though. As Ice finds 2 and he's looking for 3. Get excited, BDS.
Holy
Mikyx
Jinx.
able to escape from it. Caps on his way to defend his support.
Wow. That was a good Jinx fight, Medic. Like we spoke about the importance of G2 pushing the game forward, snowballing with the Varus, and now all of a sudden Ice is, well, I was about to say slowly, pretty rapidly actually turning into a monster on the Jinx.
I mean, you talk about Jinx scaling all the time, right? One of the best AD carries if you can get a reset in a late game fight. Here, already got 2 kills, 700 gold ahead. Kraken Slayer complete first. Are seeing a lot of Jinxes still go for the Kraken Slayer just for the attack speed, even though you don't get as much crit off it anymore, or you don't get any crit off it anymore. Likely to see an Infinity Edge second item. We'll have another look at this play, because the Weaver's Wall comes down, and Mikyx and Han Summer are in no man's land.
I think this was very disrespectful from G2 more than anything. They know that Labrov and Sheo are around the tri-bush looking. They decide to walk up anyways, have to burn every single one of their summoners. Yike comes in, but at this point the fight is already kind of hard to play out. And you can even see in the minimap Caps trying to make it to his team in time, but it's just too forced and too late.
Yeah, you can kind of see what G2 were thinking. Is if we get 1, if we get onto Sheo, then with the bailout we have an extra life. We can try and fight through Ice, but Ice getting that initial kill with the Super Mega Death Rocket means that it's so much harder to catch him, right? You just have a Renata chucking out handshakes. It's like, excuse me, much more of a high five guy, says Ice, as he manages to avoid it. G2's bot lane now with no summoners. Ice and Labrov with the advantage in the lane. Opportunity first for Summer. He is going that lethality route. And we'll see how effective it is as the game goes on. Drake up, and Mikyx caught out. No flash on him, no hope for him to survive. Sheo takes the kill, and BDS likely going to look towards that dragon. Possibility of a dive, but they decide against it. Place the ward behind the wall there. That means they would spot Yike as he walks around the corner. Instead, they just secure the objective. BDS, 1.5k ahead here. Making good plays, getting their carries fed. They're in a very strong position.
Yeah, if you're in that game, you're definitely feeling very comfortable right now, knowing that once Tristana and Jinx have like 2 free core items, which at least Jinx is going to get before Varus, like you're in a great position to win this game. And we spoke about it going into the game, like they're comfortable scaling, they're happy to be, you know, even or even slightly behind, so this is a fantastic position for them to be in. Now it all comes down to how well they manage to snowball. How can they set up the Rift Herald to secure that for themselves without losing a potential fight? And then snowballing further by taking the tier 1s, getting the deep vision for tier 2s, etc.
I think a big crux of the game, the big point of conflict is how does Caps influence fights? Because he's 2-0, he's almost 1,000 gold ahead on this Hwei, and the AoE that a Hwei can put down in fights with Spiraling Despair, with the Severing Bolts, is so impactful. The question is, can G2 survive long enough for that damage to be meaningful? Can they find the flank for BrokenBlade? Do they get a good chain of corruption? If that happens, if they manage to catch Ice and Nuke out, then they can just burst through BDS before they have the opportunity to respond.
Yeah, I think for G2 generally, like this is a game where lethality Varus actually makes a lot of sense because you have a lot of squishies on the enemy side. But of course, it's not always going to be easy to, you know, power through the Gragas and the Rell, so often we need to keep an eye out for TP wards, Kennen flanks, etc. because if BrokenBlade gets a flank, there's almost no doubt that he's going to delete the entire backline.
Geez, you've been on the receiving end of many a good slicing maelstrom over that time. Here, BrokenBlade trying to be the one dishing out that damage. Labrov Hex flashes forward, has the Demolish, can get his way through this tower. The Rift Herald was secured by BDS. They might even just look for an inhib tower here with Sheo waiting, but decide against it, just want to get the wave shoved in. Sheo will reset and path his way likely down towards that bottom side to make sure that Adam is safe defending the tower.
And here, naturally, G2 will start losing more than BDS. It's just about finding the trades, finding a way to prevent them from falling further and further behind. And eventually, they will have to look for a fight. It just comes down to when they're willing to take that risk. Could be on the next dragon, it could be now when BDS starts pressuring mid and bot. But it's a tough decision to make when you're in-game, because you know when you're already this down against that scaling comp, you don't have a lot of chances. You can't afford making too many mistakes.
G2 have always been, well, I say always, in recent times, G2 have been very good at finding the plays that mean they don't fall too far behind, especially in Europe, right? They understand, well, enemy team is overloading this side, we can play 2 lanes, we can get pressure in mid and get a tower in the top lane. We'll see if they can do it here. They are about 2,000 gold in the hole. The Drake up in 2 minutes time. For BDS, it would be a perfect start to the LEC Summer. Obviously, fell short. Not at the final hurdle, at the penultimate hurdle in spring, losing to Fnatic. Very good on championship points, but obviously top 3 here in summer guarantees you a spot in the season finals, which is what BDS will be looking for. A team, I think, still sometimes overlooked because they're rarely in the final, and they often fall, you know, 3rd or 4th place, but they are consistently one of our top teams in Europe, even if they haven't quite broken through the G2-shaped ceiling at the top of the LEC.
I really like the macro right here from BDS. Often after plates fall, you're naturally going to see teams put their AD carry in mid lane to just farm safely and then slowly get control around it. But here...
Oh, Mikyx locked up. Ooh. He's going to be tanking the tower. Yike is on the flank. Labrov on his way across as well is Ice. Super Mega Death Rocket a possibility. Weaver's wall in. Mikyx has the flash. Will use it to jump over the wall and escape for the moment.
So my point was going to be, Jinx has 2 items. She is very, very powerful, while Nuke is still playing from slightly behind. So you're always going to want to play for towers in the lane that Jinx is in. That's where you can naturally pressure, and it's been working great for them so far. Like, Ice has been demolishing any turret in front of him. Now, of course, mid is going to be the most difficult one to crack. but they can pretty easily push out top very deep, rotate down, create a number advantage, and then go for that too. First though, Dragon is up in 40 seconds.
Yeah, and with the Rift Herald available, expect to see Sheo on this reset, path through mid, put that Rift Herald down. You can already see Labrov moving into the river to make sure they have vision control. They've even put quite a few wards around their own red buff to look for those flank TPs, to look for any vision that G2 may have got down there while they were pushing out the bot side. Red buff is the first priority for Ice. TP coming in as well by Caps as he's going to join the fight. G2, looks like they've drawn their battle plans. This is where the war can be won. BDS second to the river right now. Nuke looking for the push in mid, but Hun, Summer and Caps are both there, which means Nuke has to back away. Adam is going to push out bot side. BDS able to dodge away from that Severing Bolt. Now Ice meets the lane in mid. G2 work their way down the river. Nuke actually going all the way up to top here. Does have the TP. G2 start up the Drake. I wonder if BDS might just be giving this.
I think BDS is essentially going to tell G2 that you can have Dragon if you want, but if you do, we're going to take your mid turret and we might even potentially threaten tier 2.
I mean, they don't even get the mid tower though. BDS a little bit odds and ends as the Rift Herald did come down, chunks it out a little bit. Hans Summer here on the front line. There's the spiraling despair on Sheo. Magnustorm comes in, Super Mega Death will find one as Caps falls first. The bit out coming out as the tower falls. Berserk onto Ice, he has to cleanse. Yike dashes in with the season assist and the Vault Breaker and he finds two, but he gets taken out by Ice once again. Adam finds a good flank position as he finds another. Mikyx forced away and all the time, Nuke has been pushing in top.
Ultimately, good macro from BDS. A little bit undecisive on the play, but despite that, G2, they got a little desperate. They knew Tristana was pushing top. They knew they had to react quickly and kind of got baited into a poor fight where, once again, BDS's gold lead just continues to explode.
Yeah, up to 4,000 right now. I think a few of us, including myself, were surprised to see BDS not at all contest the Drake. I understand the call now, obviously going for the tower opens up the map a little bit more, but when they didn't get the tower off the Rift Herald charge, I thought G2 would be able to defend.
Well, let's see it again right here. Really good engage coming out from Labrov. BrokenBlade's TP started. I believe he may have gotten cancelled.
Yeah,
Did he start his TP?
I mean, he definitely used TP. Now, the spectator client can be a little bit weird at times. So, we didn't quite see where he used his TP, and that's okay. Sometimes we miss things. I'm sure someone will have seen it.
I'm pretty certain that G2 thought they could create a number advantage with TP.
Do you think he TP'd to the tower and it got killed?
That's probably what happened.
It's quite possible. We didn't see it in the moment. Tweet at Broxah if you know what was correct. Tell him he's a big dum-dum for not realizing it in the moment.
Okay.
And we don't have the luxury of pause and rewind, you know?
True.
Apart from replays, obviously, which we should have.
I'm pretty sure they wanted to force a play to get Tristana to move, see if he could cancel. Tristana stays top. Fight turns into a disaster. Well, depending on which team you're on, of course. But
BDS riding high, though. 5,000 gold ahead. The Baron a possibility for them. 2.5 items on their Jinx. 2.5 on Hun Summer as well, but his consistent DPS doesn't really match that of a Jinx at this point in the game. However, Caps still very strong. Was caught out with the Magnet Storm explosive cast combination in the last fight. If he can stay a little bit further back, perhaps he can find the defense. Okay, so here's the TP.
So
and
right now, keeping news topside. BDS,
it must have been to the tower. It must have been to the tower.
It was to the tower. BDS is basically just wanting to brute force Baron right away instead of sending nuke bots. They want to fight right here and right now. And as you can see, G2, they're going to continue to play the division in their own jungle and essentially just try to have some knowledge of when they start Baron so they have an opportunity to respond. But it's a mind game, and BDS can pull the trigger whenever they want.
Yeah, BDS are spiking so hard right now. 2.5 items on your AD carry. Nuke has 2 as well with the Navori FLICKR blades. 2 on Sheo with the Zhonya's alongside that Luden's companion. And 2 on Adam, who's about to level up that Rod of Ages to 10 and get the extra skill points. So they are in a very strong position. And for G2, you are looking for that flank. BDS have done their due diligence quite a lot this game, though, have been making sure that there's no easy avenues for G2 to get back into the game or get back into a fight.
I think here, if you're BDS, you have to eventually realize that starting Baron so early, being only 23 minutes in the game, might be a little bit difficult. Shift your Tristana down to bot lane, play for the finals here too, and then you can either shift off for Baron or just keep that pressure until Dragon spawns. Now we are closing in on the Dragon timing, 1 minute and 30 seconds away. Nuke will continue to go to the top. And I'm curious to see how they're going to utilize this pressure, because they've been in this game state for a little while now without getting anything, and they really have to make that prior work. They can't let G2 scale.
Yike just used Smite on the Razor Beaks. It is only the shorter cooldown, 15 seconds before it's back up, so it will be back up now. BDS, the tiniest of windows to start a Baron at that point. Ice fighting around this mid lane control. Adam looking for the explosive cast, doesn't land the geometry the way he would have liked on BB.
Jinx has 3 items. They really want to fight right now, no matter what it takes, and they know that if they can keep Ice alive, there could be another potential pentakill angle coming up this game.
Rapid fire cannon helping out quite a lot as well, just to get those chip autos in. You know, so difficult to step up to the Jinx in this sort of position. Another energized auto available for Ice. Mikyx will be the front line, has that Celestial opposition for a little bit more tankiness. Nuke looking for possible flank position, but look at Labrov. Look at where he is. He's all the way behind the red buff right now, trying to work his way around. The sneakiest Rell you ever did see. Yike goes in, doesn't spot him. Or does he? Oh, ooh. Okay, so Yike didn't go over the wall. Now, they will know that ward was placed very recently because of the timer on it. BrokenBlade realizes Labrov was waiting in the bush. He takes the Scryer's Bloom on his way out, but Labrov's going to get chased down by BrokenBlade. Slicing Maelstrom used as well. BDS have started up the Baron. Yike looking for that steal. Caps coming in from the side as well, and Mikyx there to join the fray. Labrov keeping BrokenBlade at bay with the exhaust going down. There's the bailout, hits onto Adam. The smite comes out from Sheo. Labrov somehow still alive. Towards the top side, eventually he goes down, but BDS will sacrifice their Rell, their knight in shining armor, to secure themselves a Baron.
And Labrov was the genius all along, stressing out G2, pulling BrokenBlade away. And the Baron was a little bit sketchy. I would have liked to see them stopping Yike from getting into the pit to begin with. Once he was in the pit, they did knock him away slightly and made it somewhat difficult. But that could have been a scary, scary situation for BDS.
Definitely could have been, when it used to flip here though in Europe, and BDS were willing to take it. Now with the Baron for the next 2.5 minutes, Super Mega Death Rocket won't secure the Drake. 2 now to G2. BDS on their reset weren't able to get out in time to contest.
But that's the thing, the resets. G2 hasn't reset yet, and now BDS is already coming out, able to push out mid and bot, and G2 is going to have to give up a lot because they have to go back at full health, mana, spend their gold, etc.
See, Caps trying to clear out this wave before the Baron bolstering comes in. We'll get most of it, so BDS will have to wait for the next one. Adam's going towards mid to buff up that wave as well. There is a tier 2 in both the mid and the bottom lane for BDS to take. So far, the Baron power play, only about 700 gold. Expect that to explode to about 1.5k or so as they take these 2 objectives.
Right now, it's a tricky position for G2. They will eventually have to look for an engage, but they also know that this engage is the one that has to count. They're not going to get another chance. It's a very tough position for them to be in. They have some wards in the top side of their jungle that BrokenBlade could potentially use for a TP flank. If BDS continues to push up mid, that's what I would expect to happen. They have to pull the trigger on the desperation play soon, or they're going to lose too much of their base.
And problem for G2 is if you don't pull the trigger, you have double AD carries working their way through these towers, right? Spiraling Despair down on Sheo. He's down to half HP, but already the turret's gone. BB's still pushing in the top lane, looking for that flank TP. It's still a possibility. Has the flash, has the slicing Maelstrom. First inhibitor falls as Ice steps up and Yike dashes back. BDS will get their second in here, but now G2 very much in the hole. 5k down, double inhibs have fallen. BrokenBlade get a turret out of his push, but G2 didn't see the angle to find an engage.
Very difficult position for them to be in, really. I mean, if you are G2 right now, the ball isn't really in your hands anymore. You just have to hope that BDS eventually makes a mistake, and you have to keep looking for the right opportunity. Now, of course, the plays are going to be slightly limited with top and mid naturally pushing due to the inhibs being down. But eventually, BDS will move towards their base. They're going to continue setting up wards for BrokenBlade, and we're just going to keep our eyes on the hamster. He has to find the flank.
If he does, he will shred through BDS. I will say the build isn't the highest burst build you can go. The Leandries, Zhonya's, and the Lightning Jewel. Not, you know, Rocket Belt Rabadons or something to really just absolutely melt, but does give him a bit more survivability. Helps him get through Adam as well, who is the tankiest member on BDS. Locket and Knight's Vow for Labrov really doing his duty as a support, just trying to keep Ice alive. All summoners up on either side, apart from Adam's TP right now. Drake up in 2.5 minutes, but BDS, you know, you get the mid prio, you can push this out, you have super minions spawning in 2 lanes, and then you can work your way down towards bot, use the pressure the super minions apply to try and open up that 3rd inhibitor tower.
G2 should be able to buy enough time here for both BrokenBlade to get his Crypt Bloom, Caps getting his Rabadons as well. Caps is closing in on level 16 too. if they can wait for those spikes, they're going to be in pretty good position and should be able to defend their base. Now, the problem is, Drake is up in 2 minutes. They don't care too much about that because they did get the 2 previous ones. But if BDS gets their hands in Baron, it's going to be near impossible for them to defend their base in the next push.
Saw Mikyx stepping up, trying to get it's kind of a flank TP ward in. It still sits there. BDS, there were a couple of pings in the area. Maybe they were on the bush instead. That ward is there, and BB can look for the TP flank.
G2 got their spikes. Items secured.
Complete. Crypt Bloom complete. BDS step forward, but decide discretion is the better form of valor as they step back. G2 on the back foot, but we've seen them knocked to the mat so many times. They continue to get up. There's the Weaver's wall. Sheo separates. Hansama still has the flash. There's the TP immediately by BrokenBlade. He's looked for the flank of the season to sit on ice. There's the slicing Maelstrom as well. BrokenBlade pops the stopwatch, but Ice is able to get out of the slicing Maelstrom and now can start to open up. Nuke low. Adam 2. Ice tries to trade back in already. Sheo has fallen. Cap still on the chase. The damage from him is superb. The flank as well from Yike. Doesn't have that cease and desist, but can look to corral BDS into a much trickier situation. Cap's low on mana. Labrov crashes down across the wall. Yike still seeing perhaps a BDS go. One member on the wrong way. Adam's going to recall. Nuke's going to work his way back around.
Sneaky, sneaky.
You just go for Adam here? There's the handshake back, but can they kill Adam in time? Explosive cast comes down and Yike may have just overstepped. He's knocked back. Super Mega Death Rocket wide as Yike survives, and G2 looked for one last tasty morsel at the end of the buffet. That was that fight, couldn't find it, and managed to escape to fight another day.
While this could be worrying as a BDS fan, I have to say, that was a fantastic play for them. BrokenBlade has no teleport and flash. Junglers and AD carriers on both sides have traded flashes, but ultimately, like I mentioned earlier, the only thing they're worried about is the Kennen. He cannot flank as easily anymore. They should be able to deal with him in fights. Like at this point, if he ever walks up, Tristana just presses R in his face and he's gone. You don't have to worry about him. Now, G2 has to contest the Baron regardless. They cannot give it up. It's spawning in just a moment here. And they're going to try to establish vision, establish control in their topside jungle. So either they can get a pick on BDS or brute force their way into the pit so they can steal.
Nuke has been sent to do the dragon alone. It's not too difficult for him on the Tristana. He already has 3 items complete. G2 look for an opportunity as they lock up Adam. Explosive cask a possibility, uses it just to disengage. Takes a chunk though. Does have the TP, can reset if he thinks that is the better course of action here. Nuke got the push, got the Drake, and now is going for the push in the bottom lane. He has a teleport of his own. Adam's going to reset, likely TP to the mid lane tower. Stops his recall, healing up with that Drunken Rage. The Happy Hour passive actually so powerful on Gragas.
BDS actually took a pretty big risk here prioritizing the dragon, because sure, they got the third dragon and they're one step closer to Soul, but that Soul is 4.5 minutes away. And now they gave up a good chunk of their vision in the Baron area, and you can see here Labrov face checking very carefully, not knowing for sure if G2 is lingering around trying to set up a trap play. Once they have established the vision again, then they can start sending their sights on Baron.
BDS now a pretty angelic team, really. You've got the Seraphs and the Guardian Angel. They are truly hoping that the heavens give them guidance in these next fights. Still about 3,000 gold ahead, but that gold lead really hasn't extended. In fact, it shrunk over the last few moments. And G2 have the time and the energy to step into this river and regain control.
I would like to think that all players are angelic. We play League of Legends, Medic.
Yeah, true.
Angelic, innocent.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's all of us.
I've never, seen anyone saying anything negative on a League of Legends stream.
Me too. Me too.
Anyways, pulled back for the handshake. Feared up as well. LeBron might just die. Spiraling despair. Despair it is for BDS as Caps gets his 3rd of the game. 3 items enough for him to start just deleting people. G2, they can push for the tier 1 in mid lane. That's what they're going to do first. Obviously the Baron a possibility as well. Explosive cast landing onto Mikyx, but he's not tanking. The Weaver's wall was flashed to the other side of it. The wall now going to be dropped by Sheo. G2 turn their eyes towards the Baron. Caps, no ultimate for him. Hansama doesn't have the Chain of Corruption either. Mikyx has the bailout.
They're going to buy time for the flashes. Kennen and Varus have flashes very soon. Yike as well. And once those summoners come back up, it should be way easier for them to set up a good fight for themselves.
Take your time, G2. BDS Still scaling, G2 happy to do the same. Obviously, Hwei so powerful as the game goes on, especially when you give him crowd control to work with. And BrokenBlade has that in spades with the slicing Maelstrom. Baron begun by BDS and immediately stopped as they think they were actually just looking for the ward at the time. Labrov has respawned, he's back here. They know BrokenBlade's pushing in the bot lane. Have they cleared out behind them? Yes, no wards for G2 there. BrokenBlade does have a teleport and will be looking for that flank position. Hansama puts a chunk down onto Nuke. There's a TP to the top side. The Baron was down to 6,000, but now heals up rapidly. G2 will restart it. They'll hold the aggro for now. Recall coming out from Nuke, he's got a teleport to rejoin the battle if he so desires. The Baron down to 8,000 as G2 start to melt through it. Sheo nowhere near this, the TP comes in, but that Baron's already down to 2,000 HP, and Sheo is dancing on the other side of the wall! The Baron secured by G2, flash away by Yike. Mikyx might be sacrificed, but I'm pretty sure G2 will be damn happy with that. Mikyx falls, G2 get out, Labrov still trying to chase forward, spiraling despair on him as Nuke gets the flank, but he's 1v4 right now. Cease and desist goes in as Nuke is locked up for a second, slicing Maelstrom as well, and Nuke is atomized! Sheo has to pop the subwatch to survive the onslaught from Caps, and G2 find one in response. Sheo dodges to the side of the Severing Bolt. The piercing arrow just tickles his heels, but doesn't quite land. Severing Bolt short again, as BDS should be able to retreat from here.
It looked like for a moment Nuke was trying to get inspiration from BrokenBlade, and he's like, I'm a Yordle too, I can also flank. Well, I have a feeling he regrets his choices right now. Didn't exactly work out for him.
But huge for G2. They get the Baron, they got the kill. Onto Nuke, I only had to sacrifice Mikyx for it, and you wonder about BDS, like they pulled off the Baron, perhaps didn't expect G2 to restart it as quickly as they did, definitely didn't expect G2 to have the damage output they did in the moment.
And I think for BDS more than anything, it's kind of a shame they were in such a good position to secure the Baron for so long, but they were hesitant to pull the trigger, lost control, and never really found their footing again. G2 did such a good job playing from behind and just establishing some kind of vision around the Baron area, making sure that BDS was never comfortable to actually start it again.
And every fight for BDS was so split, you know, Sheo behind the wall when the Baron was being started here, Nuke was on the flank, the Ice was following around the bottom side, the rest of BDS came around the top side, so you never really had this quasi front to back that Ice really wants in these situations. You never had Labrov leading the charge in with the Magnet Storm. Now G2 with the Baron, 2,500 or 2,200 off it right now. The gold lead swings in their favor. There's a Drake for them as well. Would only be their third of the game, and BDS really don't care about it as they're going to push through mid and top and look perhaps for these inhibitors once again. I don't think G2 will be able to answer in time. The question is, I mean, do you send someone back and then try and respond? You have the Baron-empowered recalls. I was wondering if they just go for an all-out push through bot. That's what BrokenBlade's doing. Caps retreats. Yike looks for a flank position. BDS get double inhibs. BrokenBlade gets one. Adam has a TP, but G2 are going to try and stop the ports to make sure that BrokenBlade has a bit of time with this Nexus tower. The recalls begin. And I think BrokenBlade will realize there's the TP from Adam. Should back away as that TP completes. Instead, he stays, gets one Nexus tower, pops the slicing Maelstrom, but no one has to get close enough to be locked up in it. BrokenBlade will sacrifice his life for 2 towers and an inhibitor.
I think ultimately both teams are pretty happy about this. Like, BDS gets 2 inhibs, G2 gets 1 inhib and a Nexus tower, but I also think the way G2 has played for the last 10 minutes or so has really showed what makes them such a special team in Europe. Like, any team can push them in the early and the mid game, but eventually they are just so good at playing as a unit. Like, they always set up fights where Caps and Hansama are able to hit. Everybody knows their job within the team, and they either go in or back out together, where BDS is a little bit more disorganized.
I mean, the big thing for G2 now is you've got 20 seconds without BrokenBlade. And BDS realizes they're just going to try and push through mid. The Baron has fallen off. You have Ice, you have Nuke. If they have time with these Nexus towers, they can shred through them, but they don't have the time because the wave clear.
The wave clear is just too strong.
It is too good from G2, from Caps specifically in this moment. And now BDS just have to back away. They've got super minions pushing in bot side. They have a 4.5 item AD carry. In fact, they've got 2 of them, although Nuke is lacking that extra half.
Now we're in a game state where all of a sudden the game is pretty much back to even. Most carries are finishing up their 4th, if not their 5th item at this point if you have Varus and you have pretty cheap items to purchase. Ice just got his 5th as well. So now, with 2 minutes left on the Baron, BDS can continue farming out bot, G2 can continue to catch up further by farming super minions in mid and top, and it all comes down to the Baron control. The chances of somebody being able to end now before Baron spawns is very low. It's the only thing that matters. Get a favorable position for Baron. Make sure that you're one step ahead. Ideally for G2 again. Kennen, find the flank, then you're good to go.
For G2, it really feels that a lot rests on BrokenBlade finding a good flank, finding a good position. And
I mean, look at the gold. The hamster is 5,000 gold up. He's a big boy right now.
He's Flame Horizoned as well. 136 CS ahead for BrokenBlade. And the rest of the map relatively even, you know, 50 CS here or there. Who's counting? But BrokenBlade in a very strong position has obviously had much more time in the side lane than Adam has, and that's part of, you know, role assignments in the game as well. Adam's job was to get Seraphs, get Rod of Ages, and then be a tank, whereas Kennen's job is get as much gold as you can and really try and shred through this team when you go in with a slicing maelstrom. We talked about how G2 win fights. The last couple of fights, BDS have struggled to really find an impact in them. What would your advice be in the moment for BDS? Do they need to change anything up?
They're really just playing a traditional front-to-back team fighting comp. You need to make sure you don't get TP flanked first and foremost.
Oh, that was a great buster shot. Nuke steps back into the stun, but the stopwatch from BrokenBlade will only buy him a second. That was very well executed by Nuke. Jumps in, baits the slicing maelstrom, buster shots him out, flashes away from the flash chase. That was really good by Nuke.
Well, this is going to make it a lot easier to set up the front to back, because Kennen has no flash, he's gone for another 45 seconds, and if they go Baron immediately, it's going to be hard for G2 to respond. Now, all they have to do is protect Tristana and Jinx. Any fight you take, no matter what zone it's in, as long as those two can hit, you're most likely going to come out on top, because even if Hwei dives you, even if there's a Varus ult coming at you, you're going to be okay. Those two are going to shred anyone who's in front of them.
Baron has been started by BDS. Double AD carries on it now, and that is going to melt. G2 not contesting. There's the Baron. BDS get it. 47 seconds on the Elder. And as much as Baron is a great buff to have, Elder ends games. If you take a fight around it and you lose the flip, you lose the game 9 times out of 10.
So now G2 is going to have to determine whether they're willing to risk the game for a soul fight, really, for a Cloud Soul.
Oh, it's not even Elder, it's Soul.
It's not Elder, it's Soul, medic. It's Soul. I'll get you.
Oh, well, thank you for getting me out of that
back on track here. I got you.
It's, well, I just assume, you know, we've had 6 dragons
Cloud
go
Soul,
down.
Same thing.
Yeah, same difference. Anyway,
Close
Elder does end games, but it won't end this game yet.
Maybe, I mean, we're 41 minutes in, might as well grab another 10 minutes, right?
Sure. It's been a fun game, you know. Not as many kills as I'd like, but still right on the edge of my seat. The Cloud Soul, thank you again for the correction, Broxah, is the next objective. BDS set up around the river. Mikyx looking for the handshake. Adam forces him away with a cask for the moment. The Drake already taken by BDS as G2 try and get in position. The Weavers will separate them, and Mikyx's on the wrong side of him. A great route with the Chain of Corruption means that Sheo has to pop the stopwatch bailout coming out as well, and Sheo will flash away from it. Nuke dodges away from the hostile takeover. Sheo parts up towards this top side. Now BDS,
they got a bot wave.
Yeah, they do have a great wave here to continue to push in. G2 have to try and respond. There's Caps TP immediately. Labrov coming in as well. BrokenBlade looking for that flank. Caps comes in, is hit by the zap. Nuke opens up on the turret. Crushing Maw is dodged, and the tower melts like butter as BDS continue to push forward. And there's the redemption to heal up. G2 don't have the time to get back to the fountain and rejuvenate those health bars. The mid lane inhibitor, the first target for BDS. They'll get it. Ice gets excited, starts to step forward, steps away from the handshake. BDS get another inhib. Ice will get a little bit more excited as now the Nexus tower is the target. You can see the Bolt Breaker charged up by Yike. Another turret will fall. It's the Nexus, the first one to go down. The second, though, as Ice just dances around. Explosive cast coming out as Caps has to pop the stopwatch. He tries to flash in. The slicing mountain gets on the backline, but Nuke again with a good buster shot will stop them in their tracks. Cease and desist on Ice will not be enough. He still has that angel sitting on his shoulder. And once again, BDS clean up, and they take down G2.
What a fantastic game, really. So much back and forth, so many cool team fights where both teams really showed how great they are at this video game. And ultimately, G2 had some chances of coming back, and they were close here and there, but BDS, ooh, that one play in bot lane, the outplay from Nuke, really sealed the deal.
Yeah, great play all round by BDS. Everyone did their job well. You can vote for your key player of the game at LEC on XP for BDS. It's Sheo, Ice, or Labrov. I think all of them had very good performances. Sheo got caught out a couple of times. I think his play around the Baron that G2 managed to take maybe a little apprehensive, maybe just didn't have the read on it at the moment. So my eyes would be towards the bot side, whether Ice or Labrov. We're going to go to a short break though, so your eyes will be on some adverts before we come back with an interview with Sheo.
Red Bull gives you wings.